Peasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works, even if you don't believe in it. Stop and think about the fact that, like I was saying there, that companies are, big major corporations are running around buying up everything that you drink, everything that you eat, controlling all of the seed. There's numerous places in the United States government is trying to make it illegal for heirloom seeds to be held on to, which means you can't grow your own stuff because it's illegal by a government. What is a government, folks? Yeah. It is an imaginary creation of the human beings that live inside that country. Nothing more. It is a corporation because it is listed as a corporation, and most every country has a stock market sticker. Okay, whether or not you can buy any kind of stock in a country is a different thing. You can buy bonds and stuff like that over the top part, but the actual corporation, United States of America, is a private ownership corporation. Okay. Yeah, the elite rich own it. The banks own it. Rothschilds, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, a whole list of little people like that. And they are little people. They're no bigger than anybody else. They have this fancy idea that this stuff they created called money is worth something. Now, what are they doing? They're buying up your environment. They're polluting the snot out of it. They're forcing you to eat their prescribed foods, take their prescribed drugs, drink their prescribed water, pay their prescribed taxes, and go to their prescribed prisons. Yeah. Why are they better than you? Have you ever stopped to think about that? Kind of like the Mexican here that told me that, well, around this town, the really intelligent person is a person that has a lot of money. If you don't have much money, you can't be intelligent. Really? So if a thief goes out and steals a few million pesos, he's really smart because he's then got a bunch of law after him trying to get that money back. But the person that goes out and earns enough money to keep themselves in a home, keep the lights on, keep the water flowing, keep the food coming in, they're stupid because they're just doing their thing, having an enjoyable life. Nobody's out trying to kill them. Nobody's trying to steal everything from them or anything like that. That person's stupid because they got just enough. That's kind of the problem, isn't it? Yet people don't actually think, therefore you don't think about what you're saying. You stop thinking. You are told not to think. The government doesn't want you to think. You don't stop to think about the fact that out there in space is no more deadly. It might be just as deadly as crossing the street and getting run over by a car. And I guarantee you I've got a lot more friends and acquaintances, and I have walked up on an awful lot more accidents then there have been rockets blowing up over my head with astronauts getting themselves killed. Yeah. 60 years of going into space, and I think all total, there's something like maybe as high as 30 astronauts planet-wide have been killed. One astronaut for every 2 years. Los Angeles alone, you have a 50-50 chance of walking out the door, getting run over, stabbed, shot, beat up by the LAPD or beat up by the Sheriff's Department just because you happen to be standing on the wrong street corner at the wrong moment. Okay? You have gang warfare, drug warfare, political warfare. You have a president that screams about throwing nukes around like there's no big deal to it. It's a lot deadlier on this planet, folks, than it would be in space at this point in time. Out there, you got a fighting chance. Down here, you got Fukushima radiation. You've got something like 500 nuclear power plants around the planet that are all leaking waste right now. They are all 2 to 3 to 400% too much spent fuel rods in their cooling ponds, which means if those cooling ponds crack like they did over in Fukushima, not only do you have the 3 reactor cores melting down, but those cooling ponds have stuff that will melt down just as easily if there's no cooling water around it. And all of those cooling ponds were on the 4th floor, the top floor of the four reactor buildings. So all of them cracked, all of them drained, 3 of them collapsed and spilled God knows how many tons of material. You don't hear anybody talking about that. You can go look at the images of the reactors and see that, yeah, the tops of 3 of them are blown clean off. So obviously, if the design plans show that the cooling pond was up there on the top, and the top is a devastated mess, there's no cooling pond up there with water circulating through it with, 400% capacity, which means there's probably about 100 to 200 tons of nuclear waste sitting in that pond when it collapsed. Probably only about 10 tons to a cooling pond. So, 40 tons of nuclear material got dumped on the ground, every one of them hot enough to be its own China syndrome, go melting down until it hits magma and gets dissolved into the magma. It won't burn all the way through, folks. No, I'm sorry. That's one of those illogical things that Hollywood movie like you to believe. It will burn down until it hits a magma chamber. The magma chamber will dissolve it. It will at that point in time be dispersed, and once it's in the magma, then you don't have a problem with it. It's sufficiently below the surface of the planet. It's not going to affect your genetics, your breeding cycles of your plants and animals and fish, and all the various things that you have to have for life on a planet. So, that's what I say. You people really don't think about the logic. You don't care about the fact that your environment's dead, your food's dead, your culture's dead, and you've wasted so much energy running around screaming, "I'm a Dodger fan! Oh, I'm a Cincinnati fan!" Whoop-de-doo. So what? Baseball teams are imaginary things too, aren't they? They're something we just create. We walk up and say, we're going to have the Dodgers here and the Padres over there. Yeah. Absolutely nothing special about it. It's a human creation. But 100,000 people will show up to declare who the winner of the baseball games were for over a couple of months. But you can't even get 1,000 people together about the fact that Fukushima is still ongoing and still a problem and still radiating stuff and killing your entire ecosystem from ocean to ocean and landscape to landscape. So, as I say, you get up there, like I said, you got solar energy up the wazoo, all you need, all you want. You got the available abilities to find mining materials on the moon, asteroids, just in your own location, and the ability to do something from manufacturing with it, storage with it, building, big biospheres where you can be growing enough food to feed this whole planet without a problem. Like I said, you don't need poisons up there. You get heirloom seeds, so that you got good quality genetics, and they produce their own seed, and every single pod is its own life vehicle, and whatever's in it can continue itself. You have all of the availability of doing something with that. You have nothing but gravity to concern yourself with to drop that food down to a starving planet, do you? You can be collecting icebergs, comets, asteroids of ice, turning them into fresh water for use in space, turning them into oxygen and hydrogen for use in space, turning them into water to use down on Earth, and again, it's just drop it down. It's a gravity well that brings stuff down. It's next to no cost to bring stuff down to a planet. Getting it off the planet's a different story, and that's why the governments spend so much time telling you how terribly expensive and terribly horrible it is to have to try and do anything in space, because they want you to only think about the fact that everything has to come off a planet and go up. They don't want you to think about the fact that there's so many chunks of rock out there of every kind of possible material you could want, that it's quite unlimited what you can do up there to salvage and save a planet. It's next to impossible to save the planet when you're down here dividing and conquering each other and killing each other and polluting each other and shooting each other and lying to each other. Yeah, so anyway, think about the possibility, folks, of actually thinking for yourselves. Like this whole Math of ESP series is, you know. Think for yourselves. Go out there and look at your world. Look at how much Donald Trump is actually accomplishing by jumping up and down, screaming and yelling, and he's got you all yelling back and forth at each other, calling yourselves names at, you know, everywhere. And he's over there pushing the delete button and erasing all of the data you need for trying to deal with what's going on with your climate. You're not going to stop climate change, folks, okay? You need to stop using that Hollywood PR thing of, oh, we're going to stop the climate and freeze everything. Okay, where does that philosophy come from? Back here with this miracle mindset. You're going to freeze everything and it's going to be heaven, you know? Yeah, it doesn't happen. Your planet's several billion years old. It's going to continue for a few billion more years. You know, it just simply goes on. You don't have any ability to control the fact that it's going to cycle through various things. But if you're learning and you're using this thing up here to actually think with, then you have the ability to adapt. I had the ability to adapt in, you know, little kid. I understood what was going on and why space was needed. So yeah, you think about it, you're definitely not doing the right thing.